What's up, guys? This is Stevan, and I'm here to break down the World Championships that just happened last weekend. But before we get into it, guys, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and notification bells on. World champs and everything we do, baby. Let's get it. So with the World Championships just getting finished for the 2024 year, the non-Olympic weight classes, overall, it was an amazing tournament. It felt really quick and short and concise because there was only 4 weight classes, but there was some amazing wrestling that happened. You know, obviously, a lot of people put a little asterisk on the year because of the Olympics, so a lot of these guys aren't coming, but a lot of these weights were loaded with some of the, world-class wrestlers, including 61 kilos, having, a world champion and Olympic champion, as well as same thing with 3 world champs at 92 kilos. So, and Jordan Burroughs at 79. You had the weights were filled with some top talent, even with the brackets being a little bit smaller than usual. So I'm going to start out going over each weight class. We'll start from the lowest, 61, and we'll build all the way up to the top. 61 kilos, it was a pretty big shock. This was probably the craziest weight where Ono, the Japanese wrestler who just won the U20 World Championships this year, goes and storms his way through the bracket. First round draws Zaur Uguev, 2-time world champion and Olympic champion from Tokyo. The guy has barely lost in his career. I think there's only 2 losses prior to this World Championships were me and Abakarov in 2023. So, since then he hasn't lost in like 5 years. Draws Ono first match, and Ono ends up winning 10-2, looked completely dominant. Uguev did look really small for the weight class, and just, he's getting a little bit old. Also, there's some news that Uguev had a knee injury, just coming back from a knee injury. So, he looked a little bit not like himself from the tournament, but nonetheless, Ono goes and wins that match 10-2 and goes and wrestles Vito Araujo, and Tech falls him in the semifinals 12-0. Wins in the finals, Tech's the guy in under a minute, and he had an absolutely dominating performance. Vito ended up coming back and beating Uguev for bronze. So it was pretty cool to see him win bronze. Overall, I think a lot of people are asking the question, just like, this kid just being so young and so dominant, like how'd this happen? Well, I think, one of the things that's, happens a lot of times is this kid being one of the up-and-coming rising stars in wrestling, making his first debut in the senior circuit like this at a tournament where the weights aren't as deep, obviously having those, Uguev and Vito, but, the weight having a little bit of less guys coming to this tournament where he can, nobody really knows much about him. Nobody's scouting him. And, having that little snap down that Haji Aliyev was known for, kind of being able to hit that. He's real aggressive running it, picking up the leg and finishing. He's got a shot to both sides, and his gut wrench looked really deadly. I don't think anyone was really ready for it when he came out hard. He's a little bit bigger for the weight as well, it looks like. So it's not like a huge surprise to me, because this, I feel like, happens especially with Japanese wrestlers. I've spoken on this before, where these guys can come out of nowhere and, really burst onto the scene. This was the perfect coming out party for him, at 61 kilos at the non-Olympic World Championships. Perfect tournament to show out for, beating an Olympic champion and a world champion in the tournament. So hats off to him. But like all wrestling, wrestling's evolving, just kind of like how Aliyev's snap down was working for him really well back in the day, 10 years ago. A lot of people began to adjust to this, like guys like Musakaev or Otaguro or Bajrang. A lot of guys were adjusting to how he wrestles. So it's going to be interesting to see how people adjust to his style. And, when I get back and healthy, if I come back and into wrestling, it'd be cool to get a match with him. So I think it'd be pretty exciting wrestling. And also, he seems like a really cool kid. Actually, I went to congratulate him on Instagram, and he DM'd me a couple of weeks ago, and he's asked me, he wants to buy the Onev shoes, which is pretty cool. I'm going to have to get him a pair before the release. But if you're more interested in that, check out onev.world, link in the description. Okay, going on to 70 kilos. I don't think it was as deep of a weight class, but, guys like, James Green, who's a world silver medalist and, one of the U.S.'s best guys the past 5 years, kind of at the in-between weights, like 70 kilos. He didn't end up making it out and placing. Overall was a pretty good weight class. I think the highlight was Aoyagi from Japan. He was a bronze medalist like a week before at the U23 World Championships, and I think he lost to the Russian there. And ended up taking bronze, but then goes on to beat the #1 guy to make the finals of the World Championship. So I just think that's kind of crazy to kind of outperform yourself, and probably doesn't happen very much, where the same wrestler goes into the U23s and then goes into the senior worlds and outperforms himself. He gets silver actually, and wrestled really well all tournament. He's going to be a stud in the going forward at 70 kilos. Taipanov from Kazakhstan won. It's their first world champion. I think at the weight class. I think it's their second world champion ever. So he made history. It was really awesome to watch him win. You know, Kazakhstan, they've always got contenders at the weight, and it's cool to see, you know, one of them, it pays off and wins the gold medal. So congrats to Kaipanov. Okay, on to 79 kilos. You know, it breaks my heart that, you know, Jordan Burroughs didn't get pulled back through. He lost in the quarterfinals to Iran, really close, I think it was. He went down 6-0 at the break, and then, you know, he couldn't find himself back. I think he ended up losing 6-4. And then the Iran guy lost to Avto Kenchadze, which a lot of you guys might know from because he's been around for a minute. You know, he used to scrap a lot at 74 with Chamizo, Sidikov, Burroughs before in the past. And, you know, he's kind of been in between 74 and 79 kilos. And you know, finally getting the job done, winning his gold medal. I think he beat Magomaya from Russia in the finals, which is a really awesome win for him. You know, and you know, unfortunately, him beating Iran knocked out Burroughs. But you know, Kenchadze spends a lot of time training in the USA. He's a really good guy. He actually came in and taught technique at my kids' club, Region Wrestling, which is pretty cool in Northwest Indiana. You know, where I grew up, and because of some of my Russian connections and Russian friends that I had living in the Chicagoland area, you know, they were able to get Avto Kenchadze here and it was cool. I actually wasn't there for this. I was competing overseas, but you know, my dad said he's an amazing guy, and really pleasure to have him in the room. So congrats to Avto for winning gold for Georgia. Just awesome job, bro. Now on to 92 kilos, probably the most anticipated weight class in the world, you know, with the matchup with Sadulayev and David Taylor, which ended up happening first round of the World Championships this year. I don't know how that happened. I don't know how, because I guess they were both unseeded and it's a non-Olympic weight, but it's crazy. They did a redraw and they both drew first round. Sadulayev ended up winning the match, which, you know, in my last video I touched on, I kind of had Sadulayev favored over Taylor, but I did not expect him to win 7-0. He beat David Taylor pretty dominating. You know, the matchup really went where it was really all Sadulayev's defense and, you know, down blocking where he really took advantage of David Taylor while he was on his hands and knees kind of reaching for those shots. I think David Taylor maybe had you know, not the best game plan coming out in his first match. He came out real aggressive and didn't realize it, and you know, that Sadulayev would make him pay, you know, go behinds. I think he did 2 go behinds and then one or two maybe where Taylor was in on the leg and kind of got in the crotch, was able to use his weight, get his hips back and go behind, and I think he exposed his back one. So it was a pretty dominating match. Like I said, it was really, I think, came down to tactics. I think Taylor could have wrestled it closer, but like I said, also, he's up a little bit of a bigger weight, and 92 is kind of more Sadulayev's weight, kind of being in that 92 to 97 kilo range. The last video, I also forgot to mention Ghasempour, the Iranian. He's a 2-time world champion, and happened that he was on the same side as well. Sadulayev ended up meeting him in the semis. The match was extremely close. Ghasempour, you could tell, was just strong as an ox, kind of kept him where, you know, Sadulayev isn't always the most offensive, and it kind of got to the point where it was a 3-1 match. At 8 seconds left, Sadulayev hits a little snap down slide by from the collar tie, gets behind and throws him back for 4 points, getting the takedown. He had ice in his veins. There's a reason why he's the greatest wrestler now of all time. At least I think he's tied for the World Championships. He goes on to the finals and wins his 6th world title. So now he's a 6-time world champion, 2-time Olympic champion. This is something that's incredible in the sport to see, you know, to accomplish. And I was really excited for David Taylor to wrestle back and get bronze and getting the win. That was a huge win over Ghasempour because they ended up meeting back up for bronze. David definitely looked a little more tactically sound, kind of adjusting for the weight class and picking the attacks where he kind of really capitalized on his wrestling abilities over Ghasempour. You know, got 2 quick takedowns. He won 4-2. And yeah, I mean, Taylor looked awesome in that match, and, you know, that was his final match of his career. So, you know, hats off to David Taylor for being one of the best of this generation. He's my favorite American wrestler. With his technique, I've really always looked up to him. Hats off to him, and congrats on your amazing career, Dave. Good luck at Okie State. That was just a little quick breakdown and review of the World Championships, but I plan on getting into a little more in-depth, you know, technical breakdowns from some of the matches at the World Championships from some of these wrestlers. And if you guys like this content and want to keep seeing more of this, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and turn the notification bells on so we can keep making more high-level, world-class content for you guys to keep watching and enjoying. World Champs and everything we do, baby. That's it for today.